This is Dr. Jennifer Edwards again. I am coming to you live from Tarleton State University, and I'm excited that you're here. Today, we will talk about dominant cultural patterns in the United States. So let's get started. Okay, so with dominant cultural patterns, it has these common elements. So, values, attitudes, and knowledge. So, values is basically a value is a central or basic motivating belief that shapes the way that you shape your goals and also what motivates you. So, your values, yes, they motivate you. So, one of my values is family, for instance. So, my family motivates me. Therefore, I am eager to get up out of bed. My students motivate me. So I'm eager to get up out of bed to teach and to help you guys and to answer your emails and your tweets and your DMs. But that is my value. So that's an example of what motivates you to do something that you would commonly not normally do. Also, an attitude is an outgrowth of a value. So your attitudes are shaped by your values, and your values shape your attitudes. So basically, that means if you are a U.S. citizen and you value U.S. citizenship, then your attitude is potentially, and this is historical, but your value is that you like or dislike immigration, depending on how how you view your U.S. citizenship. You can either like or dislike illegal immigration. Another instance is if you are a U.S. citizen, you could like or dislike traveling to different countries. So, therefore, you either travel or you choose not to travel internationally because maybe you think that everything should revolve around the U.S. and everyone's values are different. Okay. Also, you have etic knowledge, and that basically means that when culture is learned by an outsider, that basically means that he or she or they usually learn the theoretical or the theories or the normative information from books or from television shows. So it's very interesting. So some people from other countries learn English by watching television shows. I can't tell you the amount of people who've actually learned English through watching Friends. I learned some Korean words by watching my Korean dramas. And I also learned Spanish by watching telenovelas, which I love. So I learn about that culture from a general sense. So that means it's theoretical. I didn't actually experience it, and it's based on information that is sent to me or that I choose to view. So that is called etic knowledge. And I want you guys to know that sometimes you got to get out there and experience it. So, for instance, I learned Spanish by I watch Netflix, I read Spanish newspapers, Spanish magazines, but then also I plan to experience some different parts of Spanish speaking countries as well, and also different parts of Spanish speaking areas in the United States. So I will go from etic knowledge to actual knowledge. Okay, so let's look at origins of U.S. cultural patterns, and I really get excited about this. So we have several important items that shape U.S. culture, or that shaped U.S. culture. So number one, the Native Americans, the individuals who were here and thrived in the United States. Also, you have the European influence, individuals who came over from Spain and also from England and from France, and they ventured to the United States, and so that also influenced U.S. culture as well. And then also immigration. So we have people who, like I am a descendant of slaves from two different parts of North and South America. So immigration is a huge part of my life. And also Ellis Island. Many of my friends have family members who experienced Ellis Island and have records there. So immigration is a big piece of that as well. Those are all three items that shape U.S. culture and continue to shape U.S. culture. Also, communication markers of region, so verbal control and dominance. So, historically, New Englanders are likely to be introverts, and that's potentially because of the climate. But individuals in the South are considered to be extroverts for a majority. Not that everyone is, but extroverts. They don't mind talking to people, and sometimes we're loud, but verbal control and dominance within a conversation. So if you have people who do not speak as much or are very direct communicators, potentially that is indicative or that's an indicator of what part of the US they're from or what country they're from. Also, someone's affiliation and also immediacy. So that means that historically people from Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana are usually more friendly and are usually more extroverted than individuals who are not from those states, because potentially you had to communicate to survive. If you think about it, a majority of Texans, I'm a fifth generation Texan, and so a majority of people in Texas had to rely on other people to for meat or um, for dairy or for other items or for ice. So usually you have to get out and to obtain those items. You usually didn't have a grocery store or a readily available grocery store back in the day. Also, and that shapes how we interact now. Also, arousal or activation. So individuals from New England are likely to display a non-dramatic and a reserved communication style. So potentially more reserved, more introverted, whatever they're communicating with people. Okay, let's move on. The ingredients of our dominant cultures. So we have the opening of the Erie Canal, which is very important. That helped commerce in the U.S. Also, we had the emergence of New York as a financial capital in the world. So if you think about the World Trade Centers and commerce and different countries having basically deals that happen in New York, that is the emergence of New York as a financial capital back in the day. Also, the defeat of the South when it comes to the Civil War, the Immigration Restriction Act of 1924. There were more restrictions put in place for someone to immigrate to the United States from another country. Also, my favorite, mass media, the emergence of radio and TV is important as well. The automobile and the interstate system, think about Route 66. It's important because that provided commerce from California to other states. And also, I'll just state that there are many cousins and family members that I've never met in California because the invention of the automobile and the prevalence of the automobile, especially in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s, resulted in many of my cousins that I've discovered on Ancestry DNA actually living, they share my same last name, but they live in California and I've never met them, but they were able to travel there because of and many people from the South did go there, but because of the interstate system. Also, the Great Depression, World War II, and the Cold War also shape our culture in the United States. So let's talk about value orientation theory. That basically means that it's focused on one of the five basic problems confronted by humans. So, what is the human being's relation to nature? So, depending on the culture, you're going to relate to nature very differently. So, it is a man-nature orientation. So, do you dominate culture? Do you dominate nature? Do you live with nature? Or do you subject yourself to nature? So, depending on your culture, you're going to either, cut nature down, you're going to live harmoniously with nature, or are you shaped by what nature does to you and to your home? Also, what is the modality of human activity? So that basically means, and it's very interesting, guys. So you have being people who are living in who are living in the present, being and becoming. Those are people who are enjoying where they are, but they are looking at doing something different. And then also you have the doing people who are actively focused on doing something different and changing their perspective and their experience in life. Also, look at the temporal focus of human life. So that is time orientation. So you look at the past, you look at the present, and you also look at the future. And that basically means that you are focused on the that you're focused on basically, are you living in the past? Does history shape who you are and what you do? Are you living in the present, or are you living in the future? Also, the and that basically means, are you looking at what life will be like in 20 years and you are focused on achieving whatever that looks like or creating the next new product? Also, what is the character of innate human nature? That basically means, do you perceive, or does your culture perceive humans as primarily evil, as primarily good, or a mixture of good and evil? And also, what is the relationship of the individual to others? So does that mean that you are all on the same page, like the linear hierarchy? Also, the group affiliation, are you affiliated with a group, or are you individualistic? Okay, let's move on. We have value orientation theory. Basically, you're looking at human beings' relationship to nature. So you can either have the individual nature relationship, you can have science and technology. So, how you view science and technology, and also how you view materialism. So, the US system encourages people to buy new, don't repair, buy new, because everything's always perceived as cheap. 70% of students and this is historically, not right now, but have a balance of $2,000 per credit card. And then also, the U.S. buys many products daily, and so it gets very interesting with that as well. Also, you look at the modality of human activity. So it's called the activity orientation. So the three aspects of human activity are basically activity and work. Do people feel a feeling of accomplishment in their work? So only 50% of Americans historically felt a sense of accomplishment with their work. Also, if you look at efficiency and practicality, is everything focused on getting the most product out for the least amount of time or the least amount of effort? So that's potentially efficiency, or does it cost less money to produce this product or to provide the service? So if you look at the amount of time that it takes to produce a T-shirt in the U.S. versus and money in the U.S. versus overseas, sometimes companies choose to just go overseas because they value efficiency and practicality over, the potentially a made in America or higher quality product, depending on what you're making. Also, progress and change. So think about the microwave and think about TV dinners. Those were inventions that happened in, I think, the 50s or 60s. But as people started working outside of the home, as women started working outside of the home, then TV dinners and the microwave became more of a thing in American families, and also in European families as well. And also, if you look at the temporal focus of human life, it's called time orientation. So there are two aspects of time. So the first one is time as a commodity. You have to control it, and you have to take care of it, and also you it's exhaustible. So that basically means you only have 24 hours in a day. You can't make more time. And also the focus of time is linear. So do people live in the past, like this happened to our culture and we're going to live in this because we'll never get better? You live in the present, basically this is where we are now. We'll always be this way, but we're going to strive and work to maintain and then our maintain our culture. And then also the future is basically we need to get here. We are always forward thinking. We need to save. We need to do things of that nature. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see. Okay, what is the character of innate human nature? So, are all humans born evil or all humans born good? So, that is the goodness, human nature orientation. Also, rationality. So, can people actually choose? So, if they are born good or evil, can they choose to be good or evil? And then also, the mutability basically means that human nature can be changed. So, you can go from being good to being evil, or vice versa. Also, what is the relationship of the human or the individual to others? So in America, do you have the ability to be successful and to go from one place or one area of life to another? Also, you have social orientation. Is everyone equal in America? That's called equality. Conformity basically means, do people adhere to those traditional or past norms? So are people acting the same way for years regarding basically, do they all apply for jobs in the same way, or do you go to the workplace to look at the job board? So depending on the culture that you're part of, sometimes you will apply for jobs in the same way. And also, let me talk about this as well. In India, um, there is a culture that, and also in America as well, for some Indian Americans, they actually have a culture where the parents will choose the spouse of their child. So that even if their child is 25, 30, they're choosing the spouse. So do people choose to have the parents choose their spouse, or they choose not to? So that's conformity as well. And last but not least, there are forces toward the development of regional cultures. So if you look at integration and equal rights, so regarding people who have different skin colors or skin tones or ethnicities, also immigration eroded the homogeneity of the U.S. population. So historically, it was especially on the West Coast, Asian, Hispanic, and also African American, as well as different parts of Europe, and also Italian Americans, and different cultures. And so now with immigration, we have people from all over who make up our amazing country. So we have a different racial composition than what we have had before. and also ethnic composition of what we have had before. And also you have like people on national media, news media, as well as social media and multi-language media that shapes the way that we develop regional cultures as well. Also, my favorite is international air transportation is less expensive than some transportation to rural U.S. locations, which is kind of crazy. Um, so I want to go to McAllen one day. That is actually on my bucket list. But plane tickets to McAllen are like $500 sometimes, and I haven't been there yet. But then to fly to Europe, some places in Europe, through a certain airline that flies out of DFW, you can fly to Europe and back for $250. So it's very interesting, and also the end of the Cold War. So if you think about the Cold War with Russia, we had less dependence on large national security, so we didn't potentially have that threat that we had during the Cold War. And look at the new regions. So ATL, or Atlanta, it's home to a lot of global corporations. Atlanta, Georgia, um, MIA, and I know I'm using, well, I guess I can use LAX, but I know I'm using airport acronyms because I love an airport. But we have MIA for Miami. It's the cultural hub in the or one of the cultural hubs in the U.S. Houston for the oil, and it's a port city. And last but not least, we have Los Angeles. It has a lot of immigrants, so it has a large immigrant population. But thank you so much for tuning in. I'm excited that you're here. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just search for DRJT Edwards, and also search me on Twitter. Ask me questions. I'm excited to dive in. And also, just tune into the next video. I'm excited. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.